play. Welcome back to another episode of the Jackrabbit Illustrated Podcast. We're excited to have you join us today. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank our sponsors who help make this all possible. First off, a great big thank you to our title sponsor again for 2024, the Kubota dealers of South Dakota. Whether it's tractors, mowers, utility vehicles, construction, or farm equipment, Kubota's got you covered. With 9 convenient locations across the state of South Dakota and 1 in northwest Iowa, there's always a Kubota dealer nearby. Stop by your local Kubota dealer and see all they have to offer. All A-Team shows are sponsored this year by Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, home of the Butterburger, fried cheese curds, signature root beer, and world-famous custard. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. Next, we would like to recognize the support of our other A-Team podcast sponsors. Cubby Sports Bar and Grill, the best sports bar in South Dakota and home to the Jimmy Rogers Radio Show. Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management, see them for all your retirement and life insurance needs. And the Jackrabbit Former Players Association. And now, here is the A-Team.
And we are back on a Wednesday, which feels a little different, but that's okay. What?
And it's 7.
And it's 7. Yeah, 7 versus 8 o'clock. So there we go. On time. What in the hell? Thank you, Corey Mensch. All right. And so we are here because of the South Dakota Kubota dealers. Thank you for your support. All the locations all over. I have gotten to use mine a couple times to blow some snow, and that has been fun. Things have worked great. Chad, have you had to blow any snow yet?
No, but I did get my deflector all mounted. It's an electronic deflector, so got that all mounted. That kit done. It's kind of nice. Is your deflector manual on yours?
No. Nope.
Hydraulic?
Yeah, hydraulic.
You got the fancy one.
Tried, yeah. John hooked me up with what I needed. So if you are interested in the Kubota, something for your acreage, for your business, or for your house, whatever it may be, or your farm, talk to the Kubota dealers of South Dakota. They'll get you hooked up. So, Dallas, how the heck are you doing, buddy?
You know what? I've been a little better just in terms of being under the weather. We got the ick going through the house right now, so battling that. But otherwise, things have settled down enough following the Jackrabbit football team. That was awfully intense there for a while. I was up. I do one story I got to tell here. I was up at my daughter's first tournament of the year up at Osseo Maple Grove this last weekend. And before the game on Saturday, I walk into a random local establishment to grab a bite to eat and a beer before the game. And I literally mean ran into Bryce Hawthorne and Ed Hawthorne. It was nuts. You want to talk about the most random thing in the world, or very meta, if you choose to look at it that way. But got to bump into them, chat a little bit before Bryce heads on down. He's leaving for Iowa City, I think, end of this week. But anyway, that was my weekend. It was my daughter played pretty well, scored a few goals. I was I don't know, she was happy with how she played, and yeah, I got to see those guys. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And Dallas, you said that she won, right? And what do winners get in your house?
Winners get Culver's.
Culver's.
They know that. And we, by God, on the way home on Sunday, we got Culver's because she knows that winners get Culver's at my house.
And what'd you get?
Let's see. I went with my usual is 2. I went with a double Butterburger with cheese, pickles, and ketchup. And I usually skip the fries, but I get a second sandwich, go with the grilled chicken sandwich to give myself the illusion of eating healthy if I finish with that. And she goes with a plain burger. Protein. Yep, plain burger, chicken tenders, fries, and then usually a medium chocolate concrete mixer with M&Ms is the go-to.
Dang, that's awesome. Cool. Thank you, Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, for your continued sponsorship of the show. So really appreciate it. Chad, what's new with you?
I had that trip down to Texas and back. That was fun. Been working on the shop just a little bit here and there. Like I said, worked on the Kubota just a little bit. Had an accessory wanted to hang on there. So now I can electronically control that. Yeah, not a whole lot, just back to the grind. Of course, I think next Monday I get a holiday again. So, it's weird because I've had all these weeks without full weeks. And so that's strange. It feels like forever since we had our last podcast. And it was something that we needed to do. And,
Yeah.
I told you before this, I said, there's a reason the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror. So I just want to say that's how I feel about it. Let's move forward.
Yep. Yeah, I can't believe that's 2.5 weeks ago. A lot has happened in 2.5 weeks.
It's
so
nuts. I shared this with you guys that I had a South Dakota State alumni that follows football fairly closely text me like a week and a half after this went down and just, ask the benign question, face value question of, hey, what's going on in Brookings right now? And I did not know where to start because it was so chaotic, so hectic, so much happened, so many feelings just everywhere that I'm like, either you and I are going to sit down for 4 hours and I'm going to draw like a diagram, or I'm just going to say, oh, coaching change. And I kind of lean towards the latter. But back to that emergency pod real quick. I just want to make sure that everyone knows how much we appreciate I don't know, support's not the right word, but man, we were just blown away by the number of people that tuned in. I mean, clearly everyone just needed to get some feelings out and to talk. And thank you for just letting us talk and listening. But I mean, we had nearly 4,000 people tuning live, which is bananas. That's more than we've ever had for anything at one time. So it definitely shows, I think, what his fan base is going and how everybody feels.
So what's your feelings on that happening then, Dallas? What have you been saying in the thread?
So my thought right now, and I'm dead serious with this, that I think that what just occurred is the second most important thing to ever happen to this fan base after the first natty. And that probably sounds a bit Pollyanna. Some people may be saying, what on earth are you talking about, you idiot? But you look at just a galvanizing force and the way that everyone banded together from university, community, alumni, former players, whatever, top to bottom, to one stand up and say, nope, this isn't going to happen. And this is why some of you guys should consider staying here, to getting that collective that was, it was in the works, but getting that pushed out and moving to just the amount of support and attention everything's got. Matt, what did you say you've gotten for views on those blog posts?
So now we're pushing 110,000 just after yesterday I said 100,000. We're around 110,000 now if you add it together. So
is that the second largest city in South Dakota, or third probably?
Second,
yeah, right?
Gotta be second. That just shows how intensely people care. And I think that maybe this, feeling a little bit threatened, for lack of a better word, really got everybody to stand up and go, oh, okay, I need to make my intentions known. I need to support this team. I need to figure out how to give. I need to figure out how to get there in the fall and make a difference and make some noise. And it just, the whole thing has been mind blowing and very impressive to see. So that's my take, Chad.
Also, how lucky are we to have the option of being able to bring back Dan Jackson, Eric Eidsness, and those great coaches that we've had? Maybe that's what I should pull up here, Matt. We can talk about that.
And what I think is kind of cool is I think on that show, that emergency pod we did, I named 3 names at the end, right? Yep. And I said Dan Jackson, Eric Eidsness, and Brian Bergstrom are who I'd like.
Yep.
They are all back. And that honestly just like pumps me up that all 3 of them decided to come back. Like honestly, that's yeah. So here's the blog. This is the coach tracker. Dan, that's the one that announced him. We have Eric Eidsness at offensive coordinator and quarterback coach again. Again, he was the quarterback coach with Austin Sumner and Taryn Christian, 2 incredibly different passers, right? You couldn't probably find 2 quarterbacks that are more different.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about Eidsness here specifically in a minute.
Yeah. Defensive coordinator and safety coach, Brian Bergstrom. Again, he's been here before. He was the safety coach and co-defensive coordinator with Jimmy. Special teams coordinator, Isaiah Jackson. And Isaiah, you may remember him from those early Division I teams. He was a linebacker with Jimmy and Derek Domino. and that kind of group, Danny Batten, that age group. And then tight end coach, Vince Benedetto. This is a huge one, folks. We'll talk about Vince here a little more. Offensive line coach was just named yesterday publicly, Mike Bankston. Running back coach and recruiting coordinator, Deontay Coop. Dan is bringing him with from Idaho. And then if you keep scrolling, Chad, some of the quality control guys, it sounds like in his press conference, Dan alluded to these guys. Dalton Thomas, assistant defensive line coach, and offensive quality control, Lane Peterson, defensive quality control, Braden Gage, and then assistant director of operations, Daniel Mojica. Those guys were all part of the old staff. They stayed. And it sounds like they were the ones that were really working, or not the only ones, but some of the people that were working really hard behind the scenes right when Dan showed up. So kudos to those guys for sticking around.
Yeah, Justin Sell called that out in one of the first couple of interviews that he did. The people that essentially with no bosses didn't know, if they should clear out their office, nobody giving them direction. They just showed up and went to work. So bravo to those folks. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One thing real quick, talking about the blog, I'm guessing that we might be picking up some new people that are not maybe familiar with Jackrabbit Illustrated, don't follow us that closely. So what we're referring to is if you go to jackrabbitillustrated.com, our website, we've got a blog there. We also, post links to our podcast and some other things. But what Matt did, and give him, make sure he gets 100% credit for this. He set up a tracker that was referenced by basically all of the local media through this to track a who's in, who's out as players decided their futures and what they were doing, coaching updates. And then most recently, which we're looking at now on the screen, if you're watching this, and then most recently portal editions, which we'll get to later. So jackrabbitillustrated.com, make sure you follow that. Check that blog out. Matt puts a ton of work into that.
Yeah, thanks, Dallas.
Yeah.
So again, the whole point of Jackrabbit Illustrated was, as a fan, it's things that I wanted to know. And so when I look at it, it's like, okay, what would I want to know about right now? And so I just track weird stuff like that. So, but not McFeely. He ain't got time for it.
I think you spelled it wrong. It's M-I-C-K Feely. His first name's Mick. His last name's Feely.
All right, where do we want to start? We want to start anything about Dan Jackson you want to share? I mean, he was everybody's first pick, which is just amazing.
Yeah, and I think, just talking to Dan, we've all talked to Dan before, his energy, his positivity. I have a friend who's a leadership coach. She may be watching right now. And I texted her after listening to his press conference. And I said, man alive, did you hear Dan Jackson's growth mindset in everything that he was talking about? Like, all of us are looking at this as like, holy crap, this is such a mess. Like, FCS football right now, what a mess.
What word did he use? What word did he use instead?
Opportunity.
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 He used the word opportunity 30 times probably. Just beat it to death. And he meant it too. You could tell.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was so refreshing. Man, it was refreshing.
And so
I loved it.
It was also very comforting to hear that leave nothing to chance come right back. I didn't realize it was gone, maybe consciously, but somewhat subconsciously. I'd been missing some of those Stigisms, as I would call them. So it's great to hear that. It makes me happy as a Jackrabbit fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and honestly, Dan gets what we do, whether it's us or whether it's the splitting hairs or whether it's the hair raisers. He understands the importance of that. And he understands the relationship with the local media matters. I would be shocked if at any point this season we see combativeness in the press conferences. I would be I'd be very surprised by that. We've already seen him on the Nate Brown show. He's going to come on with us at some point. So I'm just excited for that aspect of it. That there's an understanding that we can help, right? We can help the program and the fan base.
Yeah, completely. One thing I wanted to touch on quick was how impressed I've been overall with the local press coverage and the amount of like very, very good coverage that we've had. Very thorough. Like it made this feel like a major market program. If only for a couple of weeks, the amount of content out there and people talking about it. So if you look at, obviously we talked about Zim, he's always there. Don't want to take that for granted, but Zim's always there. Tanner stepped up as he always does, put out some great content, told a lot of his style of trying really hard not to cough right now. His style of kind of behind the scenes reason, like, he gets a level deeper, right? Typically Tanner does, but then Nate Brown, who I'm not terribly familiar with, right? I mean, he's had some of the initial interviews. We talked to Eidsness, talked to Mark Gronowski. He's had some great coverage, and then John Gaskins. My goodness, have I started to appreciate him more and more. I always liked him, but man, he's put out great stuff. And if you haven't listened to his, I think he's going to try to move it over to TV or something. It sounded like, but he's got Nobody's Listening Anyway, that he does with Zim, but he also does a daily now that's, sounds, I don't know if it's highly produced at all, but I mean, it sounds it's legit, and he's very good. And I can tell he's kind of sliding back into getting ready to do something is what it seems like, but bravo to those guys.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Jesse's comment. This was one of my favorite parts of the introductory press conference the other day.
It was great.
Tanner, good job.
I'm Tanner Castora, and I work for myself.
Yeah, but no, that's where I'm at with Dan. Dan, we all talk about it. Great recruiter, and I do think he's an underrated coach. I mean, remember, folks, he developed Jordan Brown. He developed Don Gardner. These were very raw prospects, and he helped coach them to the NFL. There's something for that to be said for that. He's a good coach, gets along well with players. So I anticipate a lot of energy in the program, a lot of positive energy during the practices. Dan was always fun to watch during the practices, just because he, again, brought positive energy to the field. So that's where I'm at with Dan. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add.
No, I don't think so. Again, if you listen to, Zim has said it. I think all four of those guys that I mentioned, regionally said that Dan Jackson was the first name that came to everyone's mind. And there's a reason for that. And he also, I think, basically admitted, or there's been at least been rumors that he had turned down a head coaching job just prior to this to go to New Mexico. So, I mean, it isn't just us. Like, other people saw this and wanted him, and he shot that down because that was a better option. South Dakota State becomes available. He jumps at it. So let's go. Yep.
All right. You want to talk about Eidsness? You played for Eidsness, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I was, he was the offensive coordinator. I was a defensive player, but he was the OC when I was there. And even when I was there, there was people that wanted him to be the head coach. That's how respected he was at that point. And this is his third stint now. Unbelievable high character human being, unbelievable football IQ. He's a local guy. He's from Sioux Falls. And the thing that I'm going to do a terrible job of summarizing this. If you want to hear the correct version of this, check out Gaskin's podcast, because he's the one that broke down these numbers. Now, one thing that the narrative could very easily be, okay, he left. Eric Eidsness leaves in 2018, something like that.
Something like that.
Do we know what the year was? Yeah, I should have that in front of me. Okay, so there's my first time to get wrong. Yep. And he leaves, and he goes to Northern Illinois, FBS school, Mac school, and he ends up, he's over 3 years, he takes the offense from being one of the 10 worst offenses in the country at the FBS level. His third year, when it's your guys, your system, things are starting to come through, he has a top 30 offense in the FBS, right? Mm-hmm. Now, he got demoted, and I'll use that word because I don't know what else to use. He ended up going back to just being quarterbacks coach because the team was like 3-10, not because of the offense. The defense was complete crap. So he stepped, the head coach had to do something. So he makes moves, I think, on both sides of the ball. He has to step back, doesn't get fired. But, I mean, so it's not like it was lack of production. He was doing a tremendous job in that OC spot, and we'll call it politics or whatever happened. And then he also shared in a later interview that he had some personal things going on, is another reason why he stepped back. But if you want to listen to Gaskins break down how well he did at NIU calling plays, I mean, he could have just as easily, if he didn't have some other things going on, and if that team would have been winning, he could be at a Power 4 school right now calling plays. And he actually finished this last year as the play caller too. So this is not something where this guy didn't do a good job and got demoted. I want to make sure everybody understands that.
He was calling plays this year, the team that beat Notre Dame.
Not he wasn't when they were playing Notre Dame, but the last couple apparently he was.
Same team.
But hold on, another cool story. I'm going to drag this on longer. He was talking about how he and Luke Meadows actually were the ones that spent the time over the summer scouting all the blitz tendencies and things. And this is on, I don't know if this is Gaskins or Nate Brown. I think it was Gaskins. Breaking down Notre Dame's tendencies that allowed them, to do what they did and move the ball. And then they actually turned around, called the Notre Dame head coach afterwards and said, hey, if you want the self-scout, we'll tell you exactly what we found. So they actually helped them out the rest of the way after they did that. I thought that was cool. But it was him and Meadows, another SDSU guy.
Huh. I missed that. That's awesome. Yeah. I will talk about Bergie a little bit. So Brian Bergstrom's been at Winona State the last 3 years. His first season there led them to the playoffs, and then the last 2 years, I believe he went 5-6 in those 2 seasons. Winona State is not an easy place to win in when you have Mankato, Augustana, USF, Bemidji, Duluth. Those are some programs that are playing darn good football right now, and you are competing straight up against them head-to-head all the time. And so for Bergstrom to have an over 500 record in his 3 seasons there, pretty dang good. From what I've heard from the people close to the program over there, really tremendously respected on campus, in the community. His family was visible in the community. And we know this. Bergie, to me, I think we talked about this again in that interview. He is super high character, like Stig, man of faith, for sure, and just an A+ human being. So I look forward to seeing him kind of build up these young men. Look to see the recruiting aspect. He's a really strong relationship builder with players. And so I'm looking forward to that. I think Bergie's just great hire on this staff.
How crazy is it that 2 of the guys that we listed as people that we would want to see as head coaches are the coordinators, and they've been head coaches at other programs. That one thing that Dan called out in an interview is that will bode itself very well to the coordinators being able to coach the coaches and run their staffs. I think Dan is genuinely excited for that, because then that frees him up even more to be able to do the things that he wants to do.
Agreed. Anything on either of those, Chad, Eric, or Brian?
No, okay. I mean, I was a fan of them while they were here, so I don't know what else to say. My interactions with them have both been good, but they've been limited, so I don't have a lot to share.
Yeah. Also a big Bergie fan. I've said it before, I think, on this podcast that, that's somebody that I would have zero issue sending my kid to play for, without hesitation. Feel bad for the people that having to leave a program and everything. I'm sure that's difficult for them in Winona, but all the better for us, of course.
Yep. Hey, and then Isaiah Jackson, just talk about him quick. Originally from Arizona, and he has been at UC Davis now for a number of years, linebacker coach, and then recently, in the past few years, was elevated to the special teams coordinator for the Aggies out there. And UC Davis routinely has a really good special teams. We know that about them. Very solid. Their punter from when they came to Brookings actually is now the punter for the Packers, Dan Whalen. So that's kind of cool. I realized not too long ago, we've played 3 NFL punters right now: the Scottish Hammer, Stonehouse from Colorado State, and then Whalen from the Packers. Like, isn't that cool? Like 3 punters have played. So, anyways, weird fun
Didn't
fact.
UIW have an excellent punter this last year too?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so
I don't remember his name, but yes, it did.
That guy's destined to. I just remember it was like watching the Scottish Hammer again and going, "Oh my, that's it's not a normal punter."
Yeah, and what's their face? The really crappy school that's in our conference. They have the kicker.
Murray State. Murray State
has the kicker that goes boom off his foot. Yeah. Anyways, it's Tori Taylor. Jeez,
of course,
thanks,
Beth hammering us for missing the Iowa punter.
Yeah, that's
okay. We just want to forget about Iowa.
Is that Alex? Alex must be logged in.
No, I bet that's Beth.
All right.
Don't shortchange her. You'll hear about it at the athletic auction.
She can talk to me about it. All right. Vince Benedetto. Let's talk about him. Really excited for Vince. Loves the Jackrabbits. I got a bunch of people that DM'd me the video of him from that playoff game a couple of years ago, shirtless in the stands, swinging his shirt around his head and stuff. Maybe a few too many barley pops. But he loves the Jacks. And what more can you ask for on that? He has been a tremendous head coach at Sioux Falls Jefferson, building that program from the ground up. And from what I've been told, I've had multiple high school coaches reach out to me saying how much they respect Vince for his work with the South Dakota Coaches Association. I don't know if he did different workshops or whatever when they have their annual meeting, but I had 3 different coaches just say, "Wow, you're getting a good one."
I was happy when I heard his. Sorry,
go ahead, Dallas.
I was going to say I was happy when I heard his name initially, but I didn't realize what a home run that is. To get a tight ends coach that played tight end here, that obviously bleeds yellow and blue, that has all of that respect in the state coaching community, and that I believe was also called out in an interview that you look at all of the hats that you have to wear as a head coach in high school, like that's all transferable skills that you're going to get to bring, to a higher level of ball.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, recruiting the Sioux Falls Metro, being able to get the Sioux Falls schools, Brandon Valley, Harrisburg, West Central, like those schools that are right in that area, Viborg, Hurley. It's going to be huge having Vince with all those connections down there to the coaching association in South Dakota too. So love that. Welcome, Vince. Welcome back.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt when you got a guy that lives it, breathes it, and you can tell honestly loves the place, not just the fact that he's a coach there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We should have had Rev answer who Mike Bankston is, because he was at Stephen F. Austin for a few years. So, Rev, if you're still here, tell us about Mike Bankston.
So, Mike Bankston, new offensive line coach, new leader of the 605 Hogs, new face to us. He's from Iowa. I forget where, but he's from Iowa, played at Iowa State, ended up having an injury and had to walk away and move into a GA role, I believe. And he's been a handful of places. You said SFA, most recently.
Sam Houston last year.
Yep, Sam Houston last year. So he's been around a little bit, been in Texas, and by all accounts, everybody's pretty excited that he's here too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then running back coach Deontay Cooper, like I said, came with Dan from Idaho. He is the recruiting coordinator. Just visited him very briefly. Good energy about him too. So I'm looking forward to knowing these guys a little more.
I know nothing about him, but I like him just on paper as recruiting coordinator. I actually didn't realize that it was going to be, because you get a younger guy that played FBS ball, that at least made I believe he made a rookie camp or a mini camp.
Mm-hmm.
So he had aspirations of playing beyond, somebody that's going to be relatable to kids coming out of high school. So I think that seems like a win there.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And I'm sure we'll get this staff filled out here in the next few days and weeks. Linebacker coach, D-line coach, cornerback coach. Guessing, we'll see what they do with the quality control positions. We have strength and conditioning. I would really hope that we value the mental performance coach again. I think
Please.
that needs to be a priority.
That's
We all know how
that one
big
hurts.
impact he's had.
I know we don't want to spend time talking about guys that we lost, but that one hurts. We got to backfill that one.
No, we all loved him. We can talk about him a bit.
Yeah, I mean, one, just Chris, thank you. Tremendous guy, tremendous individual, and huge impact on the program that I don't know how many people actually understand how big of an impact he had. Stig has been talking about him since he set foot on campus. Chris Croct, we're talking about, and he did leave for Wazoo, but he's going to be missed. And yes, I definitely hope they do their best to replace that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Hold on. I got just a question, Matt. What do you think? So open positions that we know, we got so like on the field coaching positions that are open that we know: wide receiver, linebacker, D-line, corners. Right. So that's 4. What? And none of us have heard any names really tied to any of these at all. I don't believe. But where do you think they come from? What level of football do you think we get these guys from?
I mean, I am fine taking guys from the NSIC, right?
Yep.
For these positions. I do think like Ryan Olson was a very good offensive line coach for us, a good tight ends coach.
Yep.
Brian Bergstrom came from where was he before he came to us? Augustana. Yeah. Augustana, like way back when, so I do think like between the Wisconsin D3s and the NSIC, I think there's a tremendous pool of coaches.
Eck came from Mankato.
Yeah. And Schleissner was Mankato. So, yep. I mean, that's, to me, like, that's fine.
And I think that makes sense because you're not going to get, we can get lateral. Just about anywhere outside of the top 5 or 6, we can get somebody in the FCS to make a lateral move, I would assume, assuming it makes sense for them and their family, blah, blah, blah. But, obviously nobody, when you get to that, nobody at the FBS level, for the most part, is going to quote unquote step down. Even if we look at it as a lateral move, on paper, it isn't necessarily always lateral. There can be quite a difference in pay for most programs as well. So I think that makes sense.
I would have zero problem bringing in a wide receiver cornerback coach from the southeast part of the country too. That'd be kind of cool to have some ties down there. We've gotten some good recruits out of Florida and kind of surprisingly at times, so would be cool if we could pull someone that could kind of recruit that area with some ties.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Although Dan has gone out of his way multiple times to say we're going to recruit locally. And it's not that we're not going to get players, from the Southeast, but definitely sounds like the focus is going to continue to be South Dakota and surrounding states.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's plenty of talent in the area, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. There really, really is. I mean, it's incredible, like how much talent actually is in South Dakota and rural Minnesota, the cities, rural Iowa. That was so cool, that picture the other night from the Rams-Vikings game of Van Ginkel and Christian Roseboom together, 2 guys that grew up in the same county. Like,
yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. So
I mean, just look at the 2 guys that beat us in the semifinal. One's from Iowa and one's from Marshall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not that far away, and they're both pretty damn good.
Yeah. All right. Let's do portal ads.
Okay. Let's do portal ads. Hold on. Give me a hot
While
second.
Chad's doing this, we're just going to talk about Cubbies Sports Barn Girl really quick. Thank you, Cubbies, for your support. As you get to Brookings for the wrestling duels that are left this year, the basketball games that are left, make sure you stop by Cubbies before or after the game to get yourself some food and drink. It's the best place to do that, to watch some sports on the screens, to see other Jackrabbit fans. I always run into someone I know when I'm there. It's pretty cool. So Thank you, Cubby Sports Barn Girl Brookings, for your continued support.
I thought it was cool. In his introductory presser, Dan even mentioned going to Cubbies. That's
Yes,
how
he
important
did.
Cubbies is to Brookings.
Yeah, yep.
Thank you, Cubbies.
That's cool. So, the portal, as we've talked about in the past, SDSU has always used the portal just to supplement. If there's like maybe a weak spot on the roster or a spot that has a question mark. A couple of years ago, it was right tackle, and we went and plucked John O'Brien out of the portal. Helped us win 2 national championships. This year, we are going to have to be much more aggressive, obviously, in the portal. We already were going to have to supplement a little bit just based on some surprise graduations. Levi Vandenbos, example, was kind of late in the game, I guess, that he declared that he was not coming back. And that's fine. Good for Levi. But now with 30 plus transfer portals out, a large senior class, we are going to have to add in some guys. So we've already started in this early period. From what I can understand, these guys are on campus currently, and they're going to be going through spring ball. That's my understanding on them. Could be off on a couple, but that's where we're at. So the first guy is a quarterback, Tak Tateoka. He's from St. Thomas. Started there for 2 years. He was actually in before all of this went down with the coaching staff leaving. Dan had to re-recruit him, and we got him back in the boat, recommitted. Dual threat quarterback there, and a nice kind of insurance policy with how aggressive Chase plays. So you have someone with some big game experience, I think. Have you guys been able to look at TAC at all?
I did a little bit, exact same opinion. It's a combination of, yes, insurance policy for a aggressive quarterback that we have under center. And also, to be honest, I think it's fair to call a little bit of competition. I mean, yeah. Chase needs someone to push him. And I think that the TAC can do that. So excited to have him in.
I think John Bell's coming back though too, right?
John Bell is also back.
And he throws some really nice balls. So can't sell anyone short there.
That's a good. The quarterback room is going to be just fine. Losing Mark stinks, but they're going to be just fine. Those are 3 talented guys.
Yeah, and that was the first room that basically everyone re-upped and came back. There wasn't even a blip there.
Yep. Anyone want to talk about Nate White? I know, Dallas, you like him already.
I'm very excited about Nate White. So Nate White is a 5'11" running back out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee area. And he actually was at the University of Wisconsin last year. He was the top recruit in the state, 2023. Rated either 3 or 4 star, depending on who you're looking at. 2,500 yards. I mean, he is an absolute baller, a very high level player. Had offers from all over the Big Ten, I believe, and maybe an SEC offer in there. But I think that he definitely helps hopefully lead a running back room that was the area that definitely got decimated with guys leaving. We definitely have some players back, and I'm excited to see what they can do. But Nate looks like a home run hitter, has the potential to be a home run hitter. And we know that we like to play 2, 3, 4 backs anyway. So that's necessary to get that depth. And also he was on Twitter lipping off to somebody about North Dakota State already. So that's what made my day.
It was one of those kind of, who's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's a bison?
What's a bison? Yeah, we said, what's a bison to somebody. They were trying to troll him. So that was pretty good. But no, excited for that.
Yeah. He looks super smooth. He reminds me of Pierre a little bit in watching his high school tape. Just a very smooth runner. I'm excited for him. Next up, Jalen Thompson, tight end from Iowa. Dowling Catholic, which is one of the powerhouse programs down there. He was originally committed to Northern Illinois, decided to walk on at Iowa. Again, a good blocker. Looks like a super smooth wide receiver to me. I've used that word twice now with smooth. And again, when you watch tape of guys, I'm going to sound jeepers. I'm going to sound like Stone just for a second. When you watch some of these FBS guys, right? They're FBS guys. They look smooth. There is something about their game, like a smoothness to it. And he's a good route runner, good hands. Just couldn't crack the lineup at Iowa. And that's their tight end you at the FBS level. That's pretty dang hard to crack that rotation. So he'll be a good player for us. I have no doubt on that.
I think that smoothness just comes from some of those guys that have that natural talent and ability at those positions where it's just second nature. So it's smooth, like you said.
Yeah, and I don't know how to describe it necessarily besides that. John Pica, a local kid, Del Rapids St. Mary's. That he was another player that was technically transferring to SDSU before all the coaching changes happened. I know I got some questions about that, but he was someone that was going to become up and be a Jackrabbit. Tremendous player for Dakota Wesleyan. Like started as a freshman, was an all-conference performer as a freshman. Then his second year, he battled some injuries, was still an all-conference second team selection or first team selection. So just man alive, like really good player. He has that redshirt year left with, I don't know if, I'm guessing he won't use that red shirt. I'm guessing he's going to need to play a little bit this year at times. We have an open guard spot. And so, what a nice piece to have with someone that's actually played some collegiate football before.
Yeah, and in terms of just needing to fill out a little bit, 6'5", 295, I'm guessing you'd assume they want to put another 10 pounds on him or so, but he's got the spring to do that if he's up here. And yeah, to me, this is a really exciting type of transfer. I think that I've always talked about really wanting to look at, Northern Sun level guys and bringing this up. So, okay, this is, somebody coming in from Dakota Wesleyan, but has checked all the boxes. He's got the frame. He doesn't have to apologize for anything he's done on the field. Dude's a 2-year starter right out of high school and all conference 2 years. There's nothing else that he could have done more to impress people. So yeah, let's see what he does. This is cool.
Yeah. Mitchell, Quinton is not back, but his Marcus Hicks is. So
I bet he means
I knew what he meant too.
I know what he meant. I'm just giving Mitchell a hard time because Mitchell's usually the guy that's on top of names and where they're from and stuff. So
Quentin's an SDSU guy through and through. No worries about that.
Yeah, maybe Quentin's in the chat too. We'll see. See if he comments here. All right, flipping over to the defensive side. On Sunday, we got a commitment from Brody Targert from Iowa Western Community College. And Iowa Western is one of the top community colleges year in and year out, led by one of Dallas's former teammates, Mike Blackburn, right?
Yep, correct. Yep. Thanks, Coach.
So that's kind of cool. And it looks like Iowa Western is naming themselves like Defensive Line University. They've sent that many guys on to other programs apparently, which is pretty cool. This is a big body, man, 6'2", 290 at defensive tackle. When you watch his tape and his highlights, he reminds me of Logan Green. Just a block that is really hard to move off the line of scrimmage. So that lends itself well to our continued good run defense.
Would you call him Framey?
Not Framey. He's blocky. He's blocky. Yep.
As soon as you had that smirk, I was like, Dallas is going to say Framey.
It's one of my favorite Matt adjectives.
He's smooth and framey.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Did you guys watch any of Brody at all?
I did not.
I did not either. Sorry.
Nope. I did not get to watch any tape on any of the newest guys.
Okay. The guy I'm most excited for is Graham. I don't know if this is Eben or Eben, either way. Safety linebacker, somewhere in that range, 6'2", 210, from that Northwest Iowa hotbed of football there. And we really wanted him. NDSU wanted him out of school, high school. You and I wanted him. USD wanted him. We got him. He chose to walk on at Iowa. His high school teammates, Vanderzee, I believe, is at Iowa. They're a good young receiver. They wanted to go together. Graham decided he wanted to come back and play. He's exciting. This is someone that I think has a really, really bright future. All 4 years of eligibility. He was running back in high school. Just a winning program. Instinctual. You watch his tape, his huddle, really instinctual on the back end. Makes a lot of plays that, geez, it's like, how did he get there? How did he get from this side of the field to that side of the field, just like that, and make a play? So really excited about his future. Whether or not he is at will or at strong safety, he'll be a good one.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of one of our most recent safety linebacker hybrids, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you sorry? You go? Are you going with Stallbird on that, or who are you?
Yes, Isaiah Stallbird.
Okay, I had the same thought.
Not to be less clear.
Okay, nope. Just wanted to make sure that we're on the same wavelength there.
Yep.
He's got some Stallbird to him.
Yeah. Kobe Brett's safety from Nebraska, senior, 1 year of eligibility. Smart kid, obviously academic all Big Ten and 3-time Nebraska Scholar athlete. Really good prep career in Omaha. And he has been kind of a special teams player for Nebraska over the last 3 years. We'll see what he can actually bring to the back end of the defense, but it is going to be nice to have someone with a lot of experience in that leadership back there. We'll get into who we're bringing back, but this was definitely a position group safety that we needed to supplement. And so it's going to be nice to have kind of that seasoned veteran back there too.
Also, none of us can be surprised at all to see Dan Jackson pulling people from the Omaha area, right?
Right. And then Jackson Powers, the final group or person in the group, safety out of Minnesota, 3 years of eligibility left. He had a tremendous senior season at Maple Grove. Amani Hooker, best defense back award runner or finalist in Minnesota. Really productive, 4 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. So again, just kind of a numbers game at a lot of these Big Ten schools right now. But Jackson Powers was someone I think we had some interest in coming out of high school before he chose to walk on after kind of blowing up at one of the Gopher camps from what I remember reading about him. So.
Yep. And he was one of the top, I remember that name. He was one of the top defensive backs in the state of Minnesota.
Yep.
He was very, very good player.
Yeah.
You alluded to it. I just want to make sure, going off on kind of a soapbox here again, on the potential amount of talent that's going to be available in the portal this year. Again, I know we've talked about it. This is an abnormal year with FBS rosters needing to cut down to 105 players. Some of them carry 130 plus. That isn't necessarily normal, but I would say that most have more than 105. Yep. So you are talking about 100. Okay, so some of these guys have started to transfer because they can see the writing on the wall. Some of them, they do not have to cut until the 2025 season. So what that means is there's probably a whole bunch of guys that are fighting for scholarship spots that are going to ride through spring ball in their current school. And there's going to be 500, 600, 800. I have no idea, but hundreds of FCS caliber, high caliber players available come May and June. Yep. So when you look at, again, we've talked about this coaching staff and, we've talked about how great of recruiters they are. There's going to be talent there. So to me, there's a lot of confidence that comes with that. The other thing too, quick sidebar that I wanted to make sure that we bring up as we're talking about these transfer players, this is in no way a vote of or lack of confidence in the guys that came back. That's going to be a separate conversation. So we're not ignoring all the guys that came back because my goodness, it was amazing. The leadership and the groundswell that came from everybody. And we can get to that tonight if you want, Matt. I don't know if we're going to have time or not. So, I just want to make sure that I called that out, that we're not neglecting that by any means.
Yep. The one player I forgot to mention in the transfer portal did come yesterday. Reese Osgood, wide receiver out of Iowa, from Franklin, Wisconsin. For whatever reason, it must not have saved when I updated it yesterday. My bad. Watching his highlight cut-ups from practice, and again, this is hard because I don't know who he's going against in these Iowa highlight tapes, but this guy has some sticky hands. Man, he can make some wild catches, super quick, really good route runner. 6 foot 185 is what it says for him. So some average size, maybe a little on the smaller size. But I don't know. I'm excited for him just for the hands that he showed and some of the catches he was making in practice. Again, don't know who he was going against. Too hard to tell. But kind of a fun player. Reese Osgood. That's a name to know. All right. So who's in, who's out? We talked about the quarterbacks already. Everyone came back from the quarterbacks besides Mark. Mark is off to Iowa. Mark was never coming back. He was very open and honest about that from the start last year, that this was his last year in Brookings. Hold on, Chad. Go back up.
Oh, I thought we were going with out. I was trying to get to it. Sorry.
No. So then, Chase Mason, John Bell, Tack, Jack Amer, Jack Thuy, Jack Henry.
Yeah, Thuy. Yeah.
So we have, I don't know if Jack Thuy, how long he's going to be rehabbing after his knee injury from up in Grand Forks, if we'll be able to see him or not, but that's a good room. I really like that quarterback room.
Agreed.
The running backs.
It's embarrassing when you forget how great that room is a little bit. We had just such a top heavy starter with Mark and Chase right behind him that, the quality of these other guys somewhat gets overlooked. And
you get somebody like John that's stuck around this long that could start a lot of places in the country. So, hold on. Can I quick mention, Matt, if anybody has not heard the interview with Chase Mason or let's see, there was I'm trying to remember. No, it was a written interview with Tanner first, right? With Quentin Christensen and Chase Mason. Go do yourself a favor. Go read that. If you want to understand the level of leadership that these men are bringing back to South Dakota State and the decisions they made. And I'm not even going to begin to go into it, but you will be proud to be a Jackrabbit. You'll be amazed at the level of maturity and leadership that Chase and Q, and I think some other, I'm sure some other guys were obviously involved as well, but bravo to them.
Yes, indeed. Running back room, Brennan Begeman, South Dakota high school legend. Nate White, we just talked about him. Quinn Renfro. Quinn was the other freshman running back this year. He was a tremendous player from Missouri. Joplin, same high school as Isaiah Davis, was all-state down there. He was he their Gatorade Player of the Year too?
Yeah, I mean, he was like arguably the top recruit in that class.
So tremendously bright future for Quinn Renfro.
And I'm excited to see Begeman get a shot at some carries. Like I that when the dust settled, I had the realization that, hey, you know what? He's going to get the room's not as crowded. He's going to get a chance now.
Yep. And then James Basinger, running back from Colorado, tremendously productive. Obviously, if you're making it to this level, he's a smaller frame, but holy smokes, his yards per carry was insane, and his highlights are fun. So I believe at one of the biggest classes, Columbine, I think is where he's actually from. So, yeah. All right, tight ends. This room looks good. Grayton Ganning, David Alper's back. Starters that are back there, Andrew Gustad. Really good H-back last year for us. Jalen Thompson, talked about him. Della Hoyd. Did Dan talk about this? Someone talked about this. Della Hoyd was actually on his way back home. He had cleaned out his locker, cleaned out his dorm or apartment, driving back home to Spearfish. Dan got him on the phone, reeled him back in, and he came back. He was going to go to Washington State.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, he was one that Dan got back. Tremendous athlete and upside.
Freak athlete.
When I did my recruit, I can say this now. When I did my recruiting interview with Chris Myers following that class, there's a question I always ask off air just because I'm curious. I say, hey, who do you think has the best shot to be the next to go to the league? And he named Della Hoyd. He said if he can put it together, he's the top athlete. He's just a freak, and he's going to be special. So we'll see what happens there. The two incoming freshmen are also still coming. I confirmed that with both of them.
That's awesome. Is it weird that it almost like I don't want to see it. Didn't want to see anybody leave. Obviously, none of us did, but that it feels like it's actually could be a good thing that this room got thinned out just a little bit, because there was such a feel of like, oh, we have so many weapons, we could throw to any of them. Well, okay, we didn't throw to any of them because we could throw to any of them. Like the, getting a couple, getting Gannon, getting Alpers a little bit more focused this year.
100% agree, because it turned into, hey, we're going to sub this guy in for this package, and none of them became like that well-rounded tight end that we need. So
we talked somewhere in the middle of the season, maybe just after the NDSU game, where we wanted to get one guy in a rhythm, and we thought we had started that. And
Yep. And I mean, I liked what I saw to Alpers in the playoffs. Yeah. He had the long touchdown. Again, he looks like such a good athlete. And he really came on as a blocker as the season went along. Like really came on as a blocker. So yeah.
Yeah, and we need that nasty tight end presence like you get from a Tucker Kraft or a Dallas Goedert. So those guys need to play tough.
Yep. All right. Wide receiver, a lot of experience back here. This group is just fine too. Obviously, I have the Iowa transfer who's going to be a junior in that group. One guy that I really want to see stay healthy is Kai Ode Jr. He's the Colorado State transfer, has elite speed. That's just someone that, man, I just want him to stay healthy just so we can see what he can do. Lofton, obviously, people have been raving about him in that interview that Dallas referenced with Chase Mason. Chase raved about Lofton, and so he's going to be our feature probably this season. So it was a huge keep getting him to stay in Brookings. Landon Dulaney, tremendous recruit. Jack Smith, Sammy Drezzy. Like these guys are guys that were really, really well thought of in the recruiting process. They're going to have a chance to make an impact next year.
And Sammy got a little play at the end of the year too, so we got to see a little bit of what he did. So it's kind of cool to see him maybe get some more time.
Yep. Chad, you talk about the big boys, offensive line. I need some water.
I don't know what's not to love about what's returning here. Sam Hagan, Marcus Hicks, Quentin Christensen, Will Papke, Kenyon Big Bow, Jackson Kirsten, Ian Mulcher. Those are all returning guys with some time on them. Shane Welling brings one that they've been really high, or Willing, sorry. I always say Welling. He's one that they've always been really high on as well. 605 Hogs, that is a cabinet that is not barren. And I guess we get to see what this new O-line coach does with them. How about you, Matt? Anybody else that stands out here that you want to talk about?
Yeah. Last year, talking to Olsen before the season, he was really excited about Kyan Rock and then Hayden Veninga, both huge humans from Minnesota here, and moved really well. This also is a really fun freshman class. Micah Hack, the wrestler / football player, JB Walters, who we met at the football game. It sounds like, I haven't added him yet because I haven't been able to confirm it, that Lincoln Semchenko from Sioux Falls Christian is still committed to the Jacks as well. I think he was one of the players that actually went out to Wazoo for a visit, but he's Zach Hines' cousin. He's a Jackrabbit, so fingers crossed he stays committed, because this offensive line group is, they're going to be great. Like, no matter what we get for skill, obviously the skill is going to be really important, but having this type of offensive line coming back gives us a super, super high floor on this season.
Insanely high. I am so confident in this group. It's so exciting that, again, they all doubled down. Virtually everybody stayed. We've got 4 or do we have 5 guys that at least started at least one game this year? 4.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, I mean,
Will.
Hagan, Hicks, Christensen, Will, and Big Bow for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, Big Bow never started, but he did.
Oh, yeah, okay, he didn't start. I'm sorry, but he played quite a bit. So
I'm a Big Bow fan. I'm excited to see what he could do. He was like the last name that I was waiting for. Like, come on, man.
Exactly.
And he came back. But we've seen this across the FCS and we've talked it to death that was the separator with North Dakota State. was the elite offensive line that they had. That's when things leveled out, other than some things on the defensive side of the ball, was when we can compete with them in the trenches. And that is why when we get to the end of the year, it comes down to South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Montana State, who had an unbelievable offensive line this year. Those are the only ones that can hang, because they've got they got depth in the trenches to handle some injuries here and there, which we were able to do last year. This group does not take a step back at all. Let's go.
Yep. Before we get to the defensive side of the ball, just got to thank Northwestern Mutual, Chris Schenkel and his team down in Sioux Falls. You may have seen it, that Mark did win the Alex's Lemonade Stand award. Great job, everyone. We crushed it. Mark got that award. That's super cool. Good for him. And good job to all of us for raising that money for childhood cancer research. Hopefully they do the Northwestern Mutual Alex's Lemonade Stand FCS Radio Challenge again. I'm guessing we'll have a Jackrabbit competing in that, and I'm guessing we will be towards the top again. So thank you.
I wonder why they choose to have us back.
Yeah, right. So we've raised a lot of money in the last couple of years. So
yeah. And credit to Northwestern Mutual, they matched quite a bit too.
Yes, so, they do. Yes.
So thanks to them and guys like Chris Schenkel throwing a few bucks in here and there where you maybe don't even see it. So thanks for your hard work too, Chris. He did all those donut things too at Club 32. It was pretty cool.
Yep. All right, Dallas, you want to talk about defensive ends and who is all coming back?
Yeah, we can run through the list here quick. Quite pleased with the chain gang members that came back, both inside and outside, but we'll talk DNs. I've got a list of 8 here. Guys with some experience this year. Obviously, we've got Dawson Ripperda Jr. coming back. Very excited for him. Tremendous player. Next one on the list, probably, I want to say the one I was most excited came back, but the top 3 for sure, maybe top 2. Reese Kirchenman coming back. I had a chance to profile him way back when he was recruited. Huge upside, fantastic player. He's just a sophomore. After that, Rhett Schaefer, Nick Wells, Sam Watts, and then Blake. Is it Leiferman?
Yep.
I've not said his name out loud before. I just realized that as I was reading it. Thanks for coming back, Blake. And then 2 commits, Maverick LeBrun and Luke Kremkes.
Hey,
I've also not said Luke. I've not said Luke's name out loud either.
So Nick Wells, remember, has the knee injury, and he likely won't be back, I'm guessing, until mid-season.
Okay.
Maybe a little earlier than that. And then Blake Leiferman, 9-man star at Kimball White Lake. He was an all-state defensive end. I think everyone was kind of surprised that he came to SDSU as a tight end and not a defensive end. But he was named, I think, Scout Team Defensive Line Player of the Week 3 different times this season. And
my
so
to watch.
Yeah, right. So I'm guessing that Blake, either they just said, okay, you're a defensive end, we're done with this tight end thing, or he asked to be playing defensive end because he's a big boy. He came in at 255 last year already as an incoming freshman. So defensive end probably fits his growth pattern, maybe a little closer too. So Luke Kremkes, like you mentioned, Sioux Falls Lincoln, really, really a fun player that just got better and better and better over his high school career. That's what you want. I think he's still ascending. And then Maverick LeBrun, Del Rapids kid again. Raw athlete. His brother played basketball at Augustana. I think he just put up 40-some points the other night in a basketball game. In a college weight room, on a college diet. This is one of those kids that's going to get really freaky, like with what he can do with his athleticism. I'm excited for these 2 incoming freshmen for sure.
So, I mean, you look at that. Excuse me, started losing my voice there. All right, try that again. 3, 2, 1. All right, if you look at this list, we're going to fix that and edit. You've got 4 guys that should be able to contribute, and I am assuming that this new staff coming in is going to want to rotate 4 to 6 ends per, in every game. I would hope that they would understand the success that we've had from that, which would lend you to believe, unless one of these, freshmen can jump in, or maybe there's some redshirt guys that have filled out and have good spring balls. It is possible that we need to supplement a defensive end in there.
Yeah, this is definitely a position I'd anticipate adding a guy or two in the spring. Yep. And then defensive tackle, huge one coming back that had offers from all over the country. Kobe Claiborne.
Love that.
Yeah, just super pumped that Kobe's back.
Kobe.
And that's a transfer guy that, was proven for himself that he has what it takes to play at this level.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, did he.
Yeah, you go from Northwest Missouri State, great program, have one fantastic year here, become a fan favorite. I mean, he had offers from the entire MAC. I'm probably exaggerating, but pretty close. Almost the entire MAC, huge portion of the Mountain West. He had his pick where he was going to go, and he is still a jackrabbit. So he's in my top list of guys I'm excited are back.
Yep, and he has that ability, that position flexibility to shift out to end.
True.
Too. And that's maybe where his best tape was this year, was that end.
I agree.
Next up, Aaron Wolfkale Holston has played a ton of snaps and maybe not a ton, but been part of the rotation throughout the years. Logan Green also. I really hope Aaron can stay healthy because he is twitchy, and he always seemed to flash, whether it was a pressure or a sack or just blowing up a run play in the limited snaps that he got in a game. And so he's going to definitely have more of a chance to be featured now. I like what we have going with him. The juniors, Logan Green's played a ton. Jay Cipher has not played yet, but hopefully someone that's going to be able to finally just get things to click and just play fast because he's a tremendous athlete too. Talked about Brody already from Iowa Western Community College. And then these big two, Mac Muller and Max Chapman, both saw action last year as true freshmen. They are big boys. They are wrestlers, tremendous high school wrestlers in Iowa. So we know that they're going to play with good leverage. I think one of the things we saw with the previous defensive line coach is that he was recruiting maybe some bigger guys. We talked about this, some bigger guys than Christian Smith was recruiting. I'm interested to see how this new staff views that. And if we continue to recruit these big bodies like Mac and Max have. So we'll see. This is definitely going to have to be a place we do supplement maybe one more guy, and then we have to find either some 2025s or some redshirt freshmen just to kind of keep the roster a little balanced.
I think we absolutely need at least one with decent playing experience, whether it's again a Northern Sun type guy or somebody from maybe a little bit lower level FCS program.
Yep. Defensively, maybe our strongest position group, in my opinion, which is wild because these guys have not played a ton of snaps, is our linebacker position. Bryce Johnson was the first to come back. Colorado State had been committed there. That coaching staff came in. He was one of the players, along with Dante, that said, we don't have a spot for you anymore. So Bryce, excited about him. He's going to get his chance at Sam, I believe. Kyton Fife, Joel Ullman, and Cullen McShane came back. That junior class, there's 4 of them right there that have been on campus for quite a while. This is their chance. Joe, I could see possibly going to play that Sam linebacker, possibly playing Mike. Him and Cullen are going to kind of battle that out. Whereas Kyton's going to be at the will, along with Chase Van Tol. Huge keep. When we saw Chase Van Tol come back, I did a cartwheel. That's how excited I was about Chase being back.
Do you have video evidence of said cartwheel, Matt?
You saw me try to do.
Was it a good cartwheel? Like, how vertical was the cartwheel?
Both my feet were off the ground at the same time. So
that's like cartwheel.
That counts.
And then
I was the same way with McShane. We had started to hear rumors that maybe he was coming back because he had entered the portal early. And
mid-season.
And we started to hear rumblings that he was coming back and was really excited to see that one.
Yep. Or not mid-season. It was the Missouri State game after Bach got ejected and Joe Ullman went in. Yep. McShane did. Yeah. The younger guys, Joey Veith from Nebraska, Jack Nash from Alaska, Bowden Schuyler from Volga. All three of these guys were named Scout Player of the Week multiple times for defense. So that's exciting. You turn on the tape of the 2025 guys, Brady Kurt is a player that I really love. Like, maybe I'm crazy, putting too much pressure, but this is Logan Backus 2.0 right here.
Ooh.
Brady Kurt. These guys are walk-ons or were walk-ons, Brady Kurt and Bo Bakken. I don't know what their status is now, but very interested in these two. Bo Bakken is a nine-man player from Hills Beaver Creek, right across the border in Minnesota from Sioux Falls area. He is getting by right now. I'm not trying to sell his football knowledge short or anything like that. It's just part of nine-man. It's part of what we saw with Tucker, where a player can physically dominate at that level and completely control a game. He's awesome. He is so much fun to watch. Just kind of a bull in a china shop right now. So I look forward to seeing those two freshmen play for sure. The corners. Anyone want to tackle corners? I need a drink.
Oof. I can talk through corners real quick. Another area we got, have some guys that have played. Not sure if they're going to want to supplement or not. I don't think we necessarily have to at cornerback, but senior Abe Hoskins. We got senior Miles Taylor, junior Jalen Lee, which excited to see. Jalen, he had plenty of snaps this last year, but really excited him to see maybe highlight Jalen here a little bit. Somebody that I feel like has been around for a long time, and excited to see him step in as a leader in that room. Aiden Dotterman, a name that we've talked about a fair amount, also junior. Cody Cotton, junior. Noah St. Just, sophomore. Excited he's coming back. And then 2025 commit Miles Green. And 2025 commit Scooby Bradley.
How can you not love that name?
Exactly. Right. One of the things, on this list that, Abe, Miles, Jalen, Aiden, these guys have put in their time on special teams.
Sure. Yes.
Aiden Douderman has been a special teams ace for us for a couple seasons. Jalen Lee last year, outside of Tucker, Jalen Lee was called the best press corner that the team had. He's physical, really excited for that. Getting Miles Taylor back was huge. He's played a lot of snaps. Did he start in the Natty against Montana? He played a lot in the Natty against Montana.
He did. I couldn't tell if he started.
Yeah, and just he has that speed. So, I'm with you, Dallas. This could be a spot where we add a body or two, but I don't think it's like a huge need, necessarily. This is a good group. Miles Green is that incoming freshman 3-star recruit, a 3-star that actually stuck with us, and he is going to be here for spring ball. So he's an early enrollee.
That's
he's
right.
On campus now. So
awesome.
Safeties. Kobe Bretts talked about him. Dante Johnson. If he can just stay healthy, I know it's one of them. It's either Seth or Garrett has been predicting Dante as our breakout player for the last couple of years. It's going to have to be this year because he's going to have a really good chance here to be that player. Tremendous athlete, really a good natural feel for the game. Noah Thompson started to play more and more as the season went along with the injuries at our safeties. Excited about that. Brandon Valley Pipeline kid there. Talked about Jackson Powers, Max Stannard. Dallas, you like him a lot.
Big fan. He's in my top 10, maybe even top 5 for Pump That He Stayed. Hey. And reason being is we talked about that Scout Team Player of the Week award list. He won it 3 or 4 times, and he won it at special teams, which that, if you've ever been on, in a college practice before, that is just gutting it out, being a team player, doing what needs to be done, working your ass off. Yep. So very excited for Max.
Yep. Graham Eben, we talked about him, and then Cam Cabrari, the freshman incoming cornerback. So again, this could be a position. I don't know if we'll take any more guys. We're already taking 3, but we definitely need some 2025s, I think, in this spot. Getting a question about Tilford. Good questions, guys. So I don't want to say too much. He's just returning home for a personal issue. Not 100% sure where he's going to end up, but he's going closer to home to play football for now. We'll see. But for now, he's not part of the roster or the team for this spring. So special teams, we have the punter, Max Pelham, 2 long snappers. We need a kicker. So Chad, go stretch out and, see what you got.
I'm working on losing my belly. If it gets out of the way, watch out.
There we go. There we go. All right.
I did hear Corey Mensch has 4 years of eligibility left.
Perfect. I'd like to see him kick a little bit. Before we go, also just got to thank JFPA. We are working on a collaboration with them. More details to follow. But exciting. Definitely excited for everything JFPA did to help retain guys and how they're going to be involved with the NIL stuff that's going on. So thanks, JFPA. Anything else? Dallas, Chad, this has been really fun.
Before we leave, I'd just like to mention that we were going to try and do a takedown pod this week, but it didn't work out with the coaches having 2 duels and our schedules. So you should see us back in action next week. We're going to sit down with Cody and have a discussion on how things have been going here on this away stint as they look to come back home and have some more home duels where we can get into the meat of the schedule for the fans, I guess.
Yep. Awesome. Dallas, good luck with the rest of hockey season for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We are going to try to have Dan on and maybe some of the other coaches here this winter still, just because this is fun. I mean, there's 2,000 of you that have tuned in. So, yeah, why the heck not? With that, thank you, sponsors. Thank you, everyone that's been here to have this conversation with us. Go big, go blue, go
Jacks, guys.
Jacks.